Sierra didn't hold back. And now, Love and Hip Hop. Atlanta Season 13 may never recover. Cameras were rolling when whispers started swirling, but no one expected her to be the one to light the match. In an emotional offset moment that's already sent shockwaves through the cast, Sierra Gates allegedly confronted producers with shocking claims that Mendeecees has been getting far too close with multiple women on set. And not just side glances or friendly convos, she says. Full-blown affairs were happening behind closed doors. The confession didn't happen in a confessional. It wasn't a staged sit-down. According to people close to the show, it was raw, angry, and totally unfiltered. Sierra, who's been riding a wave of personal transformation this season, had finally had enough. She reportedly couldn't stand watching women she calls her sisters fall into the same pattern with a man she now claims has been moving reckless. And here's where it gets messy. Fans online are already pulling clips, analyzing who was hugging who left whose hotel at what hour, and suddenly, every interaction Mendeecees had on camera is being seen in a whole new light. What did Sierra see? And how deep does the betrayal really go? It started like a whisper. Not even a rumor at first, just a weird look exchanged between Sierra and one of the producers during a group shoot. But if you've been watching Love and Hip Hop long enough, you know that sometimes the real drama doesn't happen on screen, it slips in from behind the cameras. From the dressing rooms, the trailers, the phone calls during breaks. And this time, it started with a single question from Sierra that no one expected her to ask out loud. Why is Mendeecees always around the girls when the cameras aren't rolling? No one responded. Not at first. Even the sound crew got quiet. Because the truth was, they'd all noticed it. Mendeecees, who was supposed to be on set to support Yandy, is often seen chilling just a little too close to some of the women in the cast. Nothing you could point to as hard proof, but enough to raise eyebrows, lingering laughs, whispered combos, and too many casual moments backstage. Sierra had been watching. Not because she wanted to stir anything, but because her gut told her something was off. And when her gut talks, she listens. She'd already been through too much betrayal in her own relationships to ignore the signs. She said it during a private conversation that wasn't meant to be filmed. But of course, the mics were still hot. I'm not trying to be messy, but I'm tired of pretending we don't see it. It hit like a THUNDERCLAP. At first, the other cast members tried to wave it off. Bambi said maybe Sierra was just projecting. Erica tried to deflect with a joke. But then Carly, always the wild card, leaned in and whispered, "You ain't wrong though." And that was it. The floodgates opened. Sierra didn't stop there. She started naming names. Not in public, not in front of the cameras, but in hushed tones during glam sessions and car rides. She said she saw Mendeecees getting too cozy with someone who wasn't Yandy late at night after a shoot. That she heard a woman giggling in his trailer. That a stylist told her Mendeecees had been entertaining guests when he was supposed to be taking a phone call for production. Everyone tried to act normal. But behind the scenes, it was anything but. The energy shifted. People stopped talking when Sierra walked into the room. Some of the cast started pulling their phones out more, recording interactions just in case. And Yandy started showing up with a whole different vibe. Guarded. Distracted, she wasn't smiling as much. She wasn't posting behind-the-scenes moments on social media the way she usually did. The tension built slowly. But it was always there, humming under every scene like background noise. It got to the point where the producers couldn't ignore it anymore. They pulled Sierra aside to ask what she meant, if she had any real proof. And that's when Sierra hit them with a bomb no one was ready for. She said she had texts not from Mendeecees directly, but from one of the women on set. Messages that hinted at something more than friendship. Nothing explicit, but enough to make you question everything. She didn't say who the woman was, not at first. But the fact that she had anything at all sent the entire crew into chaos. Whispers turned to panic. Who was the girl? Was it someone married? someone who'd already had beef with Yandy, someone who'd deny it to the grave. Then, out of nowhere, footage surfaced. It's not official footage. Someone from the crew leaked a clip from a security cam near the parking lot. In it, Mendeecees was seen walking with a cast member after hours. They weren't holding hands, but their body language was close, way too close for comfort. They were laughing, standing too close, and when they got to the corner of the lot, the woman leaned into him like she was whispering something right by his lips. It was just a few seconds of grainy footage, but it was enough. Enough to fuel fan theories, enough to make blogs explode, and enough for Sierra to say, "See, I'm not making this up." Yandy stayed quiet. For 2 days, she didn't say a word. Not to the group chat, not to producers, not even to Mendeecees. But those closest to her said she was spiraling. She started replaying every conversation she'd brushed off. Every time she saw him laughing too loud or being a little too helpful to another woman. And now that the doubt was there, she couldn't get it out. Sierra never meant to hurt Yandy. She said that repeatedly. But in her mind, this was bigger than Yandy. This was about how women always get blamed for starting drama when all they're doing is pointing out what's been there the whole time, she said. "I've stayed quiet for too long. We all do. But then what? We end up looking stupid when the truth comes out months later. I'm not doing that this time." And honestly, a lot of people agreed with her. Fans on social media started taking sides. Some said Sierra was stirring the pot because she hadn't had a big storyline yet this season. Others praised her for being the only one brave enough to speak up. Hashtags started trending. Screen grabs from past episodes were re-uploaded with captions like, "Look at how he's looking at her, and this moment makes sense now." Cast members started getting nervous. A few even called production, asking to limit their screen time with Mendeecees. One woman in particular went radio silent online, deleted a bunch of posts, and unfollowed both Mendeecees and Yandy within hours. Things weren't just tense, they were explosive. And for once, the drama wasn't being created by editing tricks or fake storylines. This was something different, raw, dangerous, real enough that even the most media-trained cast members didn't know how to spin it. Sierra didn't come to play, and the energy on set proved it. After the parking lot footage leaked, everything changed. People who'd been laughing with Mendeecees 2 days ago were suddenly giving him cold stares or keeping their distance altogether. Production assistants whispered behind clipboards. Glam team stylists made side eyes while pretending to curl hair. No one said it out loud, but the entire vibe of the season had flipped on its head, and at the center of the storm stood Yandy on the outside. Unraveling inside Yandy's, tried to act like it was all nonsense. He brushed it off in front of cameras, saying Sierra was being messy for a storyline and telling one of the producers that the clip was out of context. But when he found out who leaked the parking lot footage, that's when he lost it. It wasn't a crew member. It wasn't a cast member. It was someone from Yandy's glam team. Someone who'd worked with her for years and felt protective enough to make sure. She saw what everyone else was whispering about. Yandy didn't yell. She didn't confront anyone publicly. Instead, she walked into the dressing room that morning, sat down in her chair, looked into the mirror and said, "What else don't I know?" Her stylist didn't respond. She didn't have to. The silence in that room said it all. Meanwhile, Sierra kept her focus. She'd expected backlash, and she got it. Comments online were savage. Some fans accused her of trying to sabotage Yandy's marriage. Others said she was chasing relevance. But Sierra had already made up her mind if people were going to hate her for telling the truth, so be it. At least she wouldn't be fake. It wasn't just social media reacting. Producers were scrambling to manage the fallout. They called an emergency meeting with Sierra, asking her if she was willing to confront Mendeecees on camera. She said no at first. She didn't want to turn this into a performance, but then she changed her mind. She said, "I'll do it, but not for y'all." I'll do it for every woman who got labeled messy just for saying what they saw. The confrontation happened 2 days later during a shoot at a lounge. It wasn't planned, but everyone felt it coming. Sierra walked in like she had nothing. To prove, her hair was slicked back tight, her heels clacking on the floor with every step. Mendeecees was already there, pretending to scroll through his phone, sipping a drink like he hadn't heard the rumors floating around all week, but his eyes said different. He looked nervous. Sierra sat across from him. "Hellos? No fake smiles? You? Good?" she asked. "I'm always good," he replied, still looking at his phone. "That's funny. Word is, you've been real good with a few women around here lately." He looked up. "Finally, you really doing this right now?" "I didn't do anything." "You did. You did." For a second, it was quiet. No one moved. The cameras were rolling. The producers were holding their breath. Mendeecees leaned back in his seat, trying to keep cool, but you could see his jaw tighten. "So you believe everything you hear now?" he said. "I don't have to believe it. I saw it." That's when it hit. He didn't deny it. Not directly. Not the way a man does when he's got nothing to hide. He just shook his head, muttered something under his breath, and said, "You don't even know the full story." Sierra's voice didn't rise. She didn't have to scream to make her point. "You're right. I don't. But I know enough, okay? And so does Yandy." Those words hung in the air like smoke. After a few seconds, Mendeecees stood up and walked out. No scene, no shouting, just silence. Word spread fast. By that evening, the group chat was flooded. Some cast members were stunned he didn't fight back harder. Others said it looked like guilt and Yandy. She still hadn't said a word, but she was planning something. The next morning, she showed up to set wearing all black. No glam, no jewelry, just a simple hoodie and jeans. She went straight to production and asked them to film a solo confessional, not a scheduled one, a raw one. When she sat down, the first thing she said was, "I'm not here to defend or attack anyone. I just want to talk." And she did, for nearly 40 minutes. She talked about loyalty, about how hard it is to be in the public eye and still keep your heart intact. She talked about how betrayal doesn't always come in the form of cheating. It can come from silence, from people who let you be the last to know. And then for the first time, she addressed Sierra directly. "If what she's saying is true, then I appreciate her courage. And if it's not, then she's going to have to live with what she's done. But either way, I can't ignore how this made me feel. It made me question everything." When the confessional aired, fans lost it. The vulnerability, the calm sadness in Yandy's voice. The way she held back tears but never looked away from the camera. It was one of the most powerful moments the franchise had seen in years. Blogs called it raw and unfiltered. Fans said it was the realest thing we've ever seen from her. And still, the rumors kept growing. Someone said they saw Mendeecees outside a hotel with another cast member 3 weeks earlier. Another fan claimed they had DMs between him and a former background extra. Suddenly, every clip from the last 3 seasons was being rewatched, reanalyzed, reframed. People were drawing connections that may not have existed, but the damage was done. Yandy started moving different. Sean followed a few cast members. She took a break from filming, and Sierra. She kept showing up, head high, no apologies. But not everyone was on her side. Erica pulled her aside during a scene and asked her straight, "Up wide, you have to be the one to say it." Sierra looked her dead in the eye, because nobody else would. And maybe that was true. Maybe everyone else had seen the signs, heard the whispers, caught the glances, but no one wanted to be the one to call it out. Not because they didn't care, but because they were scared. Scared of being labeled jealous, bitter, or just another angry woman trying to tear someone down. But Sierra wasn't scared anymore. She'd already lost too much in life to let fear keep her quiet, and whether people loved her or hated her for it, she wasn't backing down. Not now. Not when the truth was finally starting to come out. When filming resumed the following week, things were far from normal. The producers tried to set up scenes like everything was business as usual. Group outings, sit-down brunches, casual convos between cast members, but the air was heavy and no one could ignore what had gone down. Even the extras looked uncomfortable. It wasn't just gossip anymore. This thing had legs and everybody knew it. Mendeecees kept his distance, showed up to set on time, said his lines, kept his face neutral. But the warmth that usually followed him was gone. Cast members didn't greet him the same. Crew members stopped making small talk. And the worst part? Yandy wasn't anywhere near him. She showed up separately, filmed her segments, then left without a word. No eye contact, no smiles, not even a fake hug for the cameras. Fans were picking up on it too. Blogs were running side-by-sides of scenes from earlier in the season, comparing the way Yandy used to light up around him to the cold shoulders she was giving him now. People weren't just speculating anymore. They were convinced something was seriously broken between them. Then came the second video. This time, it wasn't grainy security footage. It was a full-blown behind-the-scenes clip leaked by someone inside the production team. In it, Mendeecees was sitting in a dressing room, talking to a female cast member who wasn't Yandy. The camera caught them mid-laugh, her hand on his thigh for just a second too long. And him saying something like, "You always know how to calm me down." It wasn't explicit, but it didn't need to be. The energy was intimate. The vibe was undeniable. Once again, Sierra didn't have to say a word. The clip spoke for itself. People started connecting dots. They remembered the nights that particular cast member showed up late to group shoots, always from the same direction Mendeecees came from. They recalled how she once defended him in a totally unrelated argument. Even small details like matching hoodies became part of the conversation online. Fans are sharp, and nothing gets past them when drama is involved. Mendeecees stayed silent publicly. But behind closed doors, he was livid. He blamed Sierra for the leak, even though she had nothing to do with it. He confronted her off camera, called her a snake, said she was trying to ruin his life. Sierra didn't flinch. She told him straight up, "You did that all by yourself." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She just stared him down like a woman who had nothing left to lose. What hurt him more was that no one stepped in to defend him. Not one person from the cast said he was being unfairly targeted. Not one person vouched for his innocence. Even those who used to ride for him were quiet now, some out of fear, some out of guilt, and others because deep down, they'd seen something too. They just never said it out loud. Yandy finally broke her silence again during a group dinner scene. It was supposed to be a lighthearted catch-up, but the tension was unbearable. Halfway through her salad, she put her fork down, looked across the table and said, "I just want to know if anybody here is going to tell me the truth." Everyone froze. Cameras zoomed in, hands went stiff. Nobody wanted to speak first. Karlie cleared her throat but didn't say anything. Bambi looked down at her plate. Sierra, however, didn't hesitate. "I already did," she said calmly. "Then say it now," Yandy replied. In front of everyone, Sierra took a breath and said it all again. The late-night trailer visits, the texts, the dressing room touch, the vibes that weren't just friendly. She didn't add anything new, just repeated what she'd already shared, but hearing it in front of everyone changed everything. Mendeecees didn't deny it this time either. He just sat there, jaw tight, eyes locked on his water glass, and that silence said more than words ever could. Yandy stood up and walked away. The camera caught her in the hallway, tears in her eyes, mumbling to a producer that she should have seen this coming. She wasn't angry in that moment, she was devastated. And for the first time, she looked tired, not the usual reality TV stress, tired, but soul tired. Like a woman who had fought too long for someone who didn't know how to fight for her back. Fans flooded the internet with support. Comments poured in, calling Yandy strong, calling Sierra brave, calling Mendeecees out for letting it all unravel like this. People shared their own stories of betrayal, their own experiences with seeing red flags and ignoring them. It became more than just a storyline, it became a moment of collective heartbreak. But behind the scenes, things were only getting messier. One of the producers pulled Sierra aside and told her there were plans to edit her scenes down. Apparently, Mendeecees had complained to the network, said he was being unfairly portrayed, said the show was pushing a false narrative. Sierra wasn't surprised. "He wants me quiet," she said. "It's just like every man who gets caught." Instead of backing down, she doubled up. Scott, she reached out to fans online, started going live, telling her side of the story without filters. She didn't leak new details, but she didn't sugarcoat anything either. She talked about what it means to be gaslit, how women get silenced, how people twist reality to protect reputations. Her following grew fast. People started calling her the unexpected hero of season 13. Mendeecees, meanwhile, started losing endorsements. A sneaker brand quietly removed his photo from their site. A podcast interview he was scheduled to do got canceled last minute. People were distancing themselves and fast. Yandy wasn't speaking to him, not even off camera. She moved into a hotel for a few days with her kids and posted cryptic messages on her stories, quotes about healing, self-worth, and knowing when to walk away. Fans knew what that meant. Still, she never confirmed anything. It's never said they were over, just that she needed space. But then came the third blow-on anonymous tip sent to a major gossip blog. It wasn't from Sierra, and it wasn't from the production team. It was from someone claiming to be a friend of one of the cast members, someone with screenshots. The blog didn't post them at first, but they described them in detail messages, late-night check-ins, secret meets. Mendeecees didn't respond, not publicly, but he deactivated his Instagram that night. The next day, producers called an emergency meeting. The show was spiraling, and they needed control back. They asked Sierra to tone it down. They asked Yandy to meet with Mendeecees on camera for closure. And they warned everyone that the network was getting involved. But by then, it was too late. The truth, or at least the perception of truth, had taken over. Sierra had opened the floodgates, and now no one could stop what was coming next. The final blow didn't come from a cast member or a producer. It came from the network itself. After weeks of rumors, shaky footage, and tension so thick it made editing nearly impossible, the network sent a notice to the entire cast. No official names were mentioned, but the message was clear: clean it up, or the season gets cut short. That only added fuel to the fire. Sierra read that email twice, then laughed to herself. Not because it was funny, but because it confirmed. What she already knew, truth makes people uncomfortable, especially when cameras are rolling. She hadn't fabricated anything. She didn't go snooping. She'd simply said what others were too afraid to say. And now the show that built itself on raw, unfiltered drama was trying to control the narrative. Mendeecees, meanwhile, was spiraling. People close to production said he wasn't sleeping. He stopped showing up to set unless it was mandatory. He sent long late-night texts to producers asking for certain scenes to be cut, even offering to reshoot a few more positive moments to balance things out. It was obvious he was losing grip, not just on his image, but on the people around him. Yandy still wasn't talking to him. Even in shared scenes, they kept their distance. Producers tried to force a sit-down between the two. They rented out a neutral space, set up a private dinner with no extras, and gave them room to talk. Yandy showed up, Mendeecees did too. But when she looked him in the eyes, something shifted. She didn't cry, she didn't raise her voice. She just said, "I'm tired of being the only one who believes in us." He tried to defend himself, said it was all being blown out of proportion, said people were twisting things for drama. But she wasn't buying it anymore. She'd been defending him in public for years, building their brand together, protecting his name, even when it cost her peace. And now she felt like a fool. "You didn't just embarrass me," she said, her voice low. "You embarrassed all the women who trusted you." He didn't have a response for that. And just like that, she stood up and walked out again. No dramatic exit, no glass of wine thrown, no screaming match. Just a quiet decision to stop carrying a weight that was. Never hers. Word spread fast that she was done filming for the season. She posted a short statement on her story later that night. "Protecting my peace isn't up for debate." That was all it said, but it hit hard. Fans flooded her comments with support. Cast members liked the post without saying a word. Even those who'd been neutral now made it clear where they stood. Mendeecees tried to save face. He did a live video the next night trying to shift the narrative, said it was all strategic editing, that things were taken out of context, and that people shouldn't believe everything they see. But the comment section wasn't on his side anymore. Hearts were broken. Trust was lost. And no carefully worded speech was going to undo that. Sierra, on the other hand, was quiet. She didn't gloat. She didn't post anything shady. She stayed focused. In private, she told a friend, "This isn't about being right. It's about being real." She wasn't celebrating the fallout. If anything, it weighed heavy on her. She knew the pain she'd stirred up, but she also knew it was already there, just buried under appearances and denial. Then, just when things started to settle, another twist hit the timeline. A screen recording surfaced from a private group chat involving several cast members. In it, someone had messaged months earlier about Mendeecees doing too much on set. The message was vague at the time, brushed off like a joke. But now, in light of everything, it became a smoking gun. The name of the sender, a former guest cast member who'd quietly left the show mid-season without explanation. It added credibility to everything Sierra had been saying. Now fans weren't just speculating, they were calling for accountability. Hashtags demanding the NETWORK air the uncut version of season 13 started trending. Even former cast members began chiming in. One posted, "This is exactly why I left. Too many secrets." Another said, "Sierra just said what we all knew." The story had grown beyond the show. It was in blogs, gossip channels, even daytime talk show segments. Everyone had an opinion. Was Sierra messy or brave? Was Mendeecees a victim of editing or finally exposed? Was Yandy done for good or just taking time to heal? And while the world debated, the cast tried to move forward. Producers arranged a final group scene, hoping to tie things together before the season wrapped. It was supposed to be a celebration, champagne music, small plates, but the energy was anything but festive. Sierra walked in first, composed as ever. She hugged a few people, kept her distance from others. Yandy arrived late, and when she entered the room, everything paused. Not because of tension, but because everyone could feel the strength in her presence. She wasn't broken. She was focused. Mendeecees showed up last. The room went quiet again. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, not the drama, but the confrontation. Not the yelling, but the truth. Sierra turned to Yandy and simply said, "I never wanted to hurt you." Yandy nodded, "But you did. I know." But not more than he did. That was the first time Yandy looked at Mendeecees that night. He started to speak, but she raised a hand. "I don't need any more explanations. I've heard enough." There were no grand gestures, number apologies that fixed everything. Just reality. Uncomfortable, painful, but necessary. And in that moment, something powerful happened. The drama didn't explode, settled. Not into silence, but into clarity. The season didn't end with fireworks. It ended with truth. Sierra walked out with her head high, knowing she'd spoken, up when no one else would. Yandy left, surrounded by friends, knowing she'd survived what should have destroyed her, a Mendeecees. He stayed behind, staring at the empty glass in his hand, finally forced to sit with the consequences of his choices. When the season finale aired, it was the most watched episode of the year. Fans cried, screamed, tweeted, and debated for hours. But one thing was clear: season 13 wasn't about petty fights or staged betrayals. It was about women finding their voice, about accountability, catching up to ego, and about how no secret stays hidden forever. And as the credits rolled, Viewers knew they had just witnessed something rare in reality TV, a storyline that felt just a little too real to be fake. If you're still sitting there trying to process everything that just went down, you're not alone. This season of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta didn't just deliver drama, delivered devastation, shock, and raw truth that no one saw coming. Whether you believe Sierra did the right thing or feel like Mendeecees is being unfairly dragged. One thing's clear, the cast will never be the same after this. What would you have done if you were in Yandy's shoes? Would you have stayed silent or walked away? Do you think Sierra spoke up out of genuine concern? Or was this her moment to grab the spotlight? And most of all, are we finally seeing the cracks in the perfect image that some cast members worked so hard to protect? Drop your thoughts in the comments because we want to hear every single theory, every reaction, every take. Was it betrayal or just blurred boundaries? And who else do you think knew the truth but stayed quiet? Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel for more real-time drama breakdowns, and turn on that bell so you never miss a moment of the madness. Trust us, if this is how Season 13 ends, you don't want to blink when Season 14 begins.